Hello.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I it's right before I got in here. I was literally walking around my house trying to make sure that like my vocal cords could do like because I'll talk about shit and do different voices to kind of implicate particular meanings. I can't do any of them.
Oh
My
no,
my
I'm
voice,
sorry.
my, my voice is that shattered right now because I
Oh
was
no.
listening to you talk for like 10 minutes before I got on, and I was
Mhm.
like, I can't even do the I hear talk about sharks and I hear talk about somebody else. What's the shark? Do we have to worry about the attacks now? It's
That's
like,
a good Harley Quinn. Very
that's not
good.
even what I was going for.
Well, it's a great Harley Quinn.
You see what I mean by compromise?
A
Uh,
little bit. Real quick before we get started, could you just introduce yourself in case nobody, or in case people here haven't seen you before? I know you've been on once before,
I don't
when we
want,
talked
yeah.
about Ron DeSantis taking away, basically just shutting down free speech on abortion ads. So we've had you on
Mm.
once before, but give us, I guess, the name you like to go by, the pronouns you like to go by, maybe anything about your credentials and what you're here to talk about today.
Oh, so my resume. All right.
Just a
I'm
brief. Yep.
I'm a troublemaker. Um, so not troublemaker, but troubled maker, but still
Hmm.
both apply to me regardless. Um, AKA shit starter, AKA problem child. Any
We love that.
reference. Yeah. Um, I am the head of research for the National Youth Rights Association. Whether that is good or bad for them right now, I don't know, but I'm also running it um, partially running it at the moment. Acting director at the moment. So
Well, it sounds
I
like you,
say that
just from my perspective, if I could glaze you a little bit, I can tell you care a lot about the work that you do, so I would call it a positive.
to the point of my own detriment, which I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing. I probably shouldn't be doing that.
That's
Um,
okay. I understand, but definitely good to to make sure you're taking care of yourself.
yeah, yeah, I tend to forget that. Pronouns end up being who and whom. Um,
Okay.
she, her is fine.
She, her. All
Um,
right.
yeah. Um, I'm also tend to be a little bit older than most, and by surprise to people, I'm 40.
Okay.
However, it is mostly me recognizing things that have been in patterns that have presented before historically, because I'm old enough to have been seeing it before. You know what I mean? So I've recognized that.
Hmm.
And for example, the great wisdom that South Park used to bring us, which is why I sent you the clip that I did earlier.
Yes, I can't play it on stream for fear of copyright, but I can pull up
Really?
the. I don't want to get like. I guess it's just a risk that I'd rather. I mean, how long's the clip again? Hold on.
I think you can show people probably the thumbnail to it and tell them to watch it because it's very, very short. It's just the simple fact that they have Trump explaining exactly the concept that he's doing, which in itself goes into this kind of like repetitive sort of like mind loop, as it were.
Yeah, I'll play like the first 10 seconds real quick.
Okay,
Right.
sure, put him through. This is the president. Hi, Mr. President.
I'll skip a little bit.
Yeah, of course. Darvo, Randy. Deny, attack, reverse victim, and offender.
There you
All
go.
right, let's roll.
Okay, yeah, that's good. So yeah, if you want to see that, you can go look it up. It's a 1 minute clip, but I'd rather not get copyright struck. So, but yeah, go ahead and tell me. I guess this is a good springboard, right, to what we're going to talk about.
This is my favorite springboard.
Okay, great.
So Darvo is, yeah, deny attack, reverse victim offender. It's a concept that was derived from basically institutional abuse. Jennifer Freyd is the person that put that concept or kind of came up with that concept. Um, and yeah, it's a lot of work that applies to it. So I'm actually so I'm kind of 10 seconds ahead behind whatever because I'm also watching your stream as it's actually going on.
Would you like
But
to see it in real time? I can go live on Discord.
don't worry about it.
Okay,
Okay. I'm used to this. I'm old.
no worries.
Actually, no. Relating to hormones and how it goes beyond affecting things that people don't realize. I have issues with cortisol. I have hypercortisolism. And people
Mhm.
forget that whenever you're treating things that regard hormones, it's going beyond things that are gender related. So
Yeah, I
when you
mean,
have all of that
insulin.
stuff, yeah, and so that you're doing that as well. But
Yep.
insulin kind of gets the exemption at times because of the recognition of just of diabetes being so prevalent a lot among a lot of kind of a more like large demographics of people.
Of course. I do think that it
Mhm.
is worth pointing that out in like I guess a debate format, but also just like if you're in a format where like, oh, we're gonna ban all hormones, just be like, why not insulin? Insulin's a hormone, right? Like, I think that it's a good argument personally.
Yep, yep, it works.
Yep. Sorry.
So cortisol, it actually one of the first there is a former U.S. president that had issues with cortisol, but addressing that is what allowed him to actually like win the first televised debate that there ever was, and that was JFK Jr. He
Oh.
had Addison's disease,
Mhm.
which is the opposite of what I likely have, which is Cushing's disorder or Cushing's disease.
Yes.
Addison's is low cortisol, whereas Cushing's is high cortisol. And high cortisol is also, I don't know if this is like interesting or whatever, but can be nicknamed as the ugly disease because it makes you fat.
Unfortunately, it has it gives you extra body fat in a lot of places. It gives you something that I personally find this kind of like controversial, but we learn about it in nursing school as the buffalo hump, and that's what
Yep,
they call it. So
dorsospherical fat pad.
yep. Pendulous
Yeah.
abdomen, they have such creative names for it. Stretch marks.
Muffin
So
top.
yeah. Yep, yep.
Actually, and then I was seeing play clips of you lifting weights earlier. I used to be able, I don't know if this is impressive or if somebody heard it and just told me that it wasn't because they were feeling a little bit threatened. I used to leg press 350. I
Really?
don't know. Yes. I'm also
Like
six
bench
feet
press?
tall. Leg press.
Leg press. Okay, okay. I was gonna say
Yeah.
bench press. That's very impressive, even like by bodybuilding standards. But okay, so
Yeah.
leg press. Yeah, that's actually still really impressive for sure. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
I just did. I maxed out today at 405, and I'm like 6'2", 257 pounds. So like, that's really really impressive.
Yeah. So I did 350 leg press. I didn't really do a lot of upper body strength. But before this disorder, which also has taken 20 years to diagnose, has deteriorated my muscle mass. So that's why I was telling you. I was like, I'm not gonna be able to carry a story neither. I
Yeah.
because I can't carry anything or even be able to like and of course I was making a joke about that earlier because I woke up really, really late today.
Mhm.
Um
Let's circle back around to where
oh
we're
yeah,
going with this as far as like restricting access to hormones.
it tends to make doctors really hesitant to treat things beyond diabetes when it comes to hormones,
Mhm.
especially as it starts to cause sort of like with Cushing's disease, it can cause women to like grow a really poorly manicured goatee, right? And it
Mhm.
will cause kind of like different things that look gender related. And for those reasons, initially, before you get a diagnosis, it starts to look like something else. And
Mhm.
that makes them really hesitant. But it all kind of gets a little bit clumped together. But now that you're kind of going back to the whole Darbo thing, I also showed you the clip of the what changed my mind about what I wanted to kind of bring up.
Mhm.
And that is the mass deportations of and I still need to actually do a little bit of research on this, but the moment I saw it was what brought to mind something that is going to sound crazy because I this is something that gave me flashbacks and I'll get to that after it's tell me whenever it's done playing.
It's not. There's no audio, so you can talk over it if you'd like.
Okay. I was sent to what was referred to as like a troubled teen facility when I was younger.
Yes, I
And
remember you mentioning that.
part of the process of that happening is some parents will hire a transport agency to come kidnap you in the middle of the night.
Mhm.
You won't know who the people are that are getting you. Now, in the instance of the places that I went to, they don't shave your head, but in some places they do, or they did. Those are a little bit older and they've been but like this you know, kind of I'm trying not to kind of watch it right. You don't have to like stop. It's probably stopped playing by at this point. but
Mhm.
like this gets to me. That's why I was like, nah, I gotta explain why like civics is important to the thing in the first place by it, why all of this should upset you beyond it just being upsetting in the first place. Like I'm jarred a little bit.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I spent 3 years in one of those places that was, and it also fortunately was shut down a year and a half ago,
Good.
uh, in part due to my research on it. I'll
Very good.
name
Good
it in a
job.
later date. Thank you. But the same thing happens with those that get sent to these trouble team facilities. There's no due process. There's no like
Yep.
there's no way to determine if they actually need to go to any of these places. It's all decided by the parent. And even then, the parent is brought in, isn't really made aware of what's going on at a lot of these facilities in the first place. But to circle back around to current event, tell me what you are aware of now, because I don't want to completely direct like your stream or whatever. But
No, you're fine. We haven't talked about this on stream yet, so I'll just give a brief summary of what I know. Basically, the Trump administration has been taking liberties against court orders to, disappear people in various areas, like we talked about. We did talk about Mohammed Khalil, right? Mohammed Khalil. He was one of the first victims of this, or one of the most prominent, I should say, at least. Basically, just for speaking out about Palestine and supporting them and being against the genocide. He did nothing wrong, even if he completely supported Hamas, just like they said. He did nothing wrong. He's a legal resident with a green card, and they literally just disappeared him, and it appears as though they are going to deport him. I don't know if his location is even known yet. But the Trump administration now has reinstated what was the act called from like 17 something? Like,
it's one that's only been used probably like 2 or 3 times.
mhm.
I know that, and it's been in extraordinary circumstances, even in that instance. They're basically doing that's kind of a legal move that people do to try to justify something. It's a shady lawyer tactic, from what I can kind of recall out of that context entirely. But yeah,
Yeah, the
I don't
Illegal
remember the
Aliens
exact,
Act.
but it meant to apply to something very very different. But yeah, this is a shady lawyer tactic.
Yes. So Trump enacted this, and he didn't really need to, in my opinion. Like, he's going to just go against court orders anyway, but he's trying to, I guess, still maintain some legitimacy, if I had to guess. Bottom line being, now they're talking about Tren de Aragua, which I guess is a legitimate, like, gang in somewhere in South America, I forget where, which is, like, dangerous, and, they're not good people, but we could talk about like the circumstances that led to their formation, whatever. But bottom line is, yeah, sure, Tren de Aragua, not great. But now what they're doing is they're rounding up a bunch of people who happen to look, Hispanic or brown in any way, really, who have tattoos, and literally just using the tattoo. Like one of them was a tattoo artist that they rounded up, who was here completely legally, and they just round them up and ship them over to what's the prison called? I forget.
Was it the one in El Salvador?
I think so.
Yeah. Right now I'm looking into, so there was actually somebody that showed on some like larger streamer on Twitch or whatever, and I think that's what I was talking about with Asmongold to you. He was actually referencing something that, and I was like, he's referencing an OSINT like Twitter account, and that's what was like, he's doing it wrong. So that's what like got me kind of like heated, but I'm trying to make sure that what I'm looking at right now. Okay, yeah, it was from last year. So let me see how easily I can send this to you.
Sure.
This is a document, and I haven't read through it yet, but it's from the Department of Public Safety from Texas about this exact gang and ways to spot it. And as far as I know, this PDF that I'm sending you, has nothing to do with any of Trump's authoritarianism,
Mhm.
but it will show some of the actual like proper markings and tattoos that are associated with this gang. Real Hasta de Merate till death, Ios de Dios, sons of God. So you'll see those phrases from people. That would be there's a tren that would be actual identifiers. Why do they have the dice at age 23 for Michael Jordan? This is again where I need to would need to look a little bit more to it. Like I said, I will give it 5 Eastern time.
Mhm.
But yeah, so I don't know if you're bringing it up on yeah, you're bringing it up streaming
Yep.
right now. But that will kind of show like what would So it's kind of also kind of like why hasn't anybody heard of this? Like people have heard of things like MS-13, right? Those kind of gangs. And so
Mhm.
it wouldn't come as a surprise if there was some kind of like process of members of that being detained, but like with due process, like that wouldn't probably come as shocking as seeing just like a gang that has not been brought up in public discourse whatsoever. All of a sudden, you just see this video and of them being covered. And also, so then note the tattoos. And then if you go back to look at the EP video, see if you can even spot anything that would be similar to those. That would be the process of kind of an innocent investigation.
Right.
So, as much as you can, zoom in and see if any of them have those tattoos
Well, so there is.
or
This is
any.
probably the best shot we're going to get right here.
Uh huh.
Because they're clearly showing the tattoo on purpose for like media purposes. So they're
Mm-hmm.
trying to show off this tattoo. So let's match this up and just see. So we got this tattoo, and then we got the list of tattoos over here. We got it's not the star, it's not the train. Follow along with me, kids. It's not the, I don't think it's the clock.
Yeah. So Estrella train. So stars train. And then they've got the phrase Realaste de la muerte. So any kind of wording. And I don't see any wording on the guy's arm.
Yeah, no. Granted, the lighting makes it a little difficult to tell what it is, but I don't think that this resembles anything that any of these tattoos are. I
But
mean,
also
and
know that this is
mhm,
coming from a Associated Press, which is not is namely the news organization that Trump kicked out of the Oval Office and wasn't letting like cover things. So they're probably doing a good job. they and they have
mhm,
a record of doing things that are pretty much objectively delivered. So bear that in mind. So if
okay,
they are able to show something, they're probably doing the best. The fact that they were able to get them is kind of impressive because I
right.
don't know of anyone else that has.
So just to push back a little bit, do you know that this is an exhaustive list of like, I know that like these pictures are not completely exhaustive because it also says like jaguars, tigers, felines, roses. There's a rose here, I guess.
Literally what I pulled up while we've been talking, like
But
just during the course of our conversation. So
right.
I was limited to that period of time.
That's fair.
Um,
But I do want to point out once again, they
mhm,
arrested a freaking tattoo artist, like
right.
who did nothing wrong and had no affiliation with Tren de Aragua
Hmm.
and just shipped him out. I'm pretty sure his lawyers are still like trying to find him.
Hmm.
So that's pretty cool. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, we just don't know
Uh,
where that guy is. We don't know where a lot of these people are. They're over. Let's move on to like they're just ignoring judges, right? Like
it's having something else that can be translated though, just in your browser. But I'm finding basically coverage. I'm kind of giving like a how-to of like being able to kind of check sources and like whenever people are talking shit. Like, and I say that meaning Carolyn Levitt. I'm referring to her as talking shit.
who's
uh,
that? I've heard of
Caroline
this
Levitt.
person.
That's the U.S. press secretary. Oh, we need to get
Oh
around to
right,
here.
right, right. The blonde
That's
chick.
yeah.
Yeah. What was she saying?
I, Um, oh, it's just the delivery that she has of things. Whenever she says things and says like she's responsible for what goes to the press representing the president and his administration, right? So
Right.
it is really important to be whatever people fact check her in real time and she shoots back at them in probably one of the most unprofessional ways I've ever seen and that has really ever been seen in executive government like that's mind-blowing, and also just indicative of there's even a little bit of Darvo in that, honestly. But you can kind of this is where you get the claims from that, and this is how I tend to fact check things, is basically what I'm getting to saying.
Gotcha. So you're listening to the things that she's saying and then fact checking them as she's saying them. Is that what you mean?
That's the process I go by, yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so can you give me an example of something she said that you fact checked? Or did we already go over one? Was that the tattoo thing?
No, I'm saying that she's a good example of somewhere to start
Gotcha.
to be able to do that yourself, and
Gotcha.
I'm
Okay.
kind of going a way of in which that can be done.
Hmm.
So she delivered a press conference, I think it was yesterday, that was really incendiary, and that might be also a good place to start if insofar as covering things that are ongoing, seeing the things that she actually said.
Right.
And then also, I think what's going to be the because today's the 18th. What's going to be the thing that breaks people is when they notice what happens when the full tariffs come into place. Because the moment that it actually affects an individual is when they tend to stop kind of defending it.
Yes.
Not necessarily that it's going to affect those around them. They may be able to see it, but they're not, the lack of empathy that exists there prevents them from actually saying anything about it. And there was something that you said earlier that I actually wanted to kind of contest, and I forget
Sure.
what it was.
Oh, okay. Well, if you think of it, let me know.
Yeah, remember, I'm having an old day here.
Oh, you're okay. You're okay. Was it anything about Tren de
Yeah.
Aragua and the deportations?
Oh, no, it wasn't that. But feel free to play what she says if you have a clip up.
Yeah, let me see. So, is there anything specific you think we should pull up?
Anything she said in the last press conference with her involved, like anything. I would even encourage people in the chat to kind of make bullet points of those claims.
Let's see if we can find something short here.
There should be some kind of short summary.
Carolyn, leave it. Press
It's
conference.
Levitt, but I really like that you said leave it.
Leave it. Well, that's how I spell it. So I'm like, oh, leave it. Yeah, of course. Let's see. Press briefing by Press Secretary Carolyn Levitt.
Because that's how you
Harley,
should
good to see
really
you.
handle anything she says is just leave it where it is.
Just leave it. Yep. We'll scroll down to her response to a question. Does the president see anything fishy about DeepSeek? I don't know what that is.
That's the AI that came out of China that basically accomplished what ChatGPT did at a fraction of the investment and at a fraction of the time. And it's
Gotcha.
open source.
So
I've been
not good.
tinkering with it.
Oh,
No,
have
that's
you?
great. Yeah.
You think it's good? Okay, okay. I'm
Yeah,
not a big
open
AI
source
guy.
Oh, yeah, no. AI is only as dangerous as you make it by what you feed it and what you allow to do what you allow the what it's AI is kind of a marketing term, and that's not particularly accurate to the full scope of what's considered to be under that umbrella. What's more accurate is machine learning or language learning. Yeah, language learning machine. Like that's so you're putting something into a process that is going to be absorbing information and has defined parameters of what it can do and what it can learn and adapt to with that information. So now we're kind of going into territory that's going to be very different than this. So I don't want to get too off base. So if Miss Leavitt has anything incendiary to say, which is actually most of the things she says are incendiary.
Yeah, she says the president was asked about DeepSeek last night on Air Force One when he gaggled for, I think, the third or fourth time throughout the weekend with members of the traveling press corps. The president said that he believes that this is a wake-up call to the American AI industry. The last administration sat on their hands and allowed China to rapidly develop this AI program. So they're basically just throwing shade on it and calling it not trustworthy. I am being told by some people, Maeve says DeepSeek is based because it's open source. Okay, I don't, but is it generative AI? I hate to like stick on this point, but is it like generative AI, like making images and like writing stories like ChatGPT, or is it like something else?
It's generative in the same capacity, yeah, but it's the
Okay.
parameters in which that generation happens that are important.
Okay.
Yeah. So, for
I got,
example,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
I paid for a month of the Chat GPT that allows you to play with the generative aspect.
Mm-hmm.
The main person I work with any kind of like software development is an AI engineer, and actually and I have to credit him with all of this because he's the one that did it. I'm the one that's kind of telling him how it's responding to the things that I'm doing. Is that he based an AI off of Max Hedberg, Wednesday Adams, and someone else's personality to basically help you with being able to stick to self-improvement tasks
Mm-hmm.
and motivate you to continue being able to do things that will help you along with it. I wonder if it would be appropriate for me to actually share that. You can show it online. Actually, yeah, that's free advertising for it. Let me get it real quick so then I
So
can show you what it is.
I guess like I just personally have issues with ChatGPT and generative AI as a concept because I would hate to get into a debate with you about this, but like I just find it to be a lot of resources we're wasting on essentially computers making art, and I don't find that useful.
This has
That's just
nothing
me.
to do with art or images.
Okay, sorry. I must not be understanding. I apologize.
It's okay. I'm trying to also calculate the moment. I might only have 15 more minutes of like brain energy.
That's fine. Do you want to move on to something else? I can go on to another question she was asked, like about
No, I
Medicaid.
mean overall.
Overall, what do you mean?
Like I'll probably only be able to participate for probably another 15 minutes.
Right. So I'm saying, like, do you want to move on to something else, like another question that was asked of Mrs. Leavitt?
Yeah, go for it.
Levitt. It's caused a lot of confusion around the country among Head Start providers, among providers, from services to homeless veterans, Medicaid providers, states saying they're having trouble accessing the portal. Could you help us clear up some confusion? Ms. Levitt says yes. Questioner says, give some certainty to folks, and then also, is that uncertainty, how does that uncertainty service the president's voters? Ms. Levitt says, well, I think there's only uncertainty in this room amongst the media. There's no uncertainty in this building. So let me provide the certainty and the clarity that all of you need. This is not a blanket pause on federal assistance and grant programs from the Trump administration. Individual assistance that includes, I'm not naming everything that's included, but just to give you a few examples, Social Security benefits, Medicare benefits, food stamps, welfare benefits, assistance that is going directly to individuals will not be impacted by this pause. And I want to make that very clear to any Americans who are watching at home who may be a little bit confused about some of the media reporting. This administration, if you are receiving individual assistance from the federal government, you will still continue to receive that. However, it is the responsibility of this president and this administration to be good stewards of taxpayer dollars. That is something that
correct,
President Trump
Alec,
campaigned
and
on.
I say this
That's why
as an
he has launched
engineer.
Doge, the
AI is
Department
bad
of...
and will always be bad.
Sorry, one sec. Thank you very much, Agatonuki, for... I saw your one from earlier, too. I don't know why the voice thing didn't go off, but thank you for 10 Tier 1 gifted subs. Very kind of you. Thank you. So anyway, she continues. That's why he has launched Doge, the Department of Government Efficiency, who is working alongside OMB. And that's why OMB has sent out this memo last night, because the president signed an executive order directing OMB to do just this. And the reason for this is to ensure that every penny that is going out the door is not conflicting with the executive orders and actions that this president has taken. And then she goes into illegal funding for DEI programs, no more funding for the Green New Scam, which, the Green New Deal never actually was implemented. No more funding for transgenderism and wokeness across our federal bureaucracy and agencies.
That's what you actually wanted to say. The above part that you all just talked about was filler, and was what I referred to as allostatic overload, and what what Steve Bannon refers to as flooding the zone.
Okay.
So
flooding the zone.
Flooding the zone?
Yeah. So is it like word salad, basically?
So what is your awareness of Steve Bannon's role in the current Trump methodology of kind of overthrowing shit?
To be honest with you, I'm not great at names, so I'd have to look up Steve Bannon.
Steve Bannon looks like the homeless guy that just showered.
Oh, this guy. Gavin Newsom just had him on.
Yeah, for sake.
Yeah.
He is someone that is unfortunately very charming and very well spoken, that happens to be exceptional at directing a narrative at a large to a large audience that's believable, and also is able to kind of overwhelm that audience. And it's the overwhelming of the audience that is the key factor, whereas the things he's saying and the things that he's getting other people to say are most likely irrelevant. Okay, political gishgal.
Okay. So I can understand that. So just throwing out idea after idea so that nobody can really pin you down on one certain thing.
Yeah. You can't make sense of it. So right, to give a reason why language learning models and machine learning are good things is because you could have taken everything that you just read, fed it into something like a machine learning instance, and so long as you're transparent about what you're doing with that machine learning instance and the parameters in which you have it set up, you're acting within an ethical means of being a software developer or developer in general, so long as you're saying what you're actually doing with it, and so that you can actually look under the hood and see how it functions and operates. so that you know if it's manipulative or if it's generating like so there's someone that covers this exceptionally well is Noah Yuri let me get his because I always mix up his name. Yuval Noah Harari. He focuses on AI and information at large are what the difference between information, fact, and truth, because these are different things. Again, I feel kind of like I'm hopping around from thing to thing,
That's
and I
okay. If
try not
if
to
it's all
do it.
right, if it's all right, I'd like to focus more on what's going on with Miss Levitt here, leave it, whatever you want to call it. Um, so
I really like that you're referring to her as leave it.
so basically we're talking about a Gish Gallop here. She didn't like she's saying we're not going to cut any programs, but obviously that's not true. People are already having issues like accessing, if I'm not mistaken, people are already having issues accessing Medicare, right?
They are in the sense that providers that have it are taking certain precautionary measures that are falling onto the patient. Yes.
Yeah. So basically she's just lying here, which is no surprise. Yeah. And of course, like at the end here, oh, we're going after like funding for transgenderism and wokeness and federal bureaucracy and agencies and green new scam and social engineering policies. And it's like, but like, what funding for transgenderism? There's no like government like program for transgenderism. It doesn't exist. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, if they're
Um,
trying to refer to gender affirming care, that's
yeah,
also misleading itself, because then that starts to fall under an umbrella of things that even cover just therapy for somebody that is struggling just kind of with their own personal awareness. That falls under gender affirming care.
right.
Also,
Like,
it can be said that um me having to have a radical hysterectomy and not having HRT as a 40-year-old woman falls under gender affirming care, and I'm not trans.
Like what if you have cancer taking over your entire reproductive tract in as a female person, like you might need a hysterectomy.
Yeah.
So like, am I allowed to get that? Like,
That and
it's
that
either you're not allowed to get it or they'll make an exception for that, which is kind of a double standard. So
it, yeah, and that's what starts to highlight the deception that is going
right.
on. Somebody said in chat, Elon received gender affirming care. If they're
Yep.
referring to the um other penis pump, is that what they mean? I don't, I don't know what Kermit might be referring to. The other penis pump. Sorry, what was it? The other white meat. Actually, that could be said of what has Elon Musk.
What is this penis pump you're referring to? Is this something Elon had?
It's something inflatable.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess let's put a bow on all of this. So we talked about a bunch of different stuff. We talked about Darvo. We talked about the deportations going on, Carolyn Levitt and Medicaid and Medicare, and they're definitely not making cuts to that, I promise. What is the overall message that you want people to walk away here with?
Real patriots ask questions.
Real patriots ask questions. Always ask questions. Always do your own research. Right? When we say that, we actually mean it. Find like reputable sources. Don't believe anything the Trump administration is feeding you. I would hope my
Well,
audience
that's
already
not
knows
it.
that, but
Listen,
just in
oh,
case.
I'm gonna put an asterisk there. Don't believe it at face value.
Yes.
They're probably, because this is also something that you do to kind of navigate things. It's sort of like a skeezy legal tactic, so that later you can't be held in contempt of in any kind of capacity. Is to be able to say that you said it under certain pretenses or circumstances or whatever. And there's probably a really obvious word that I'm missing there that actually defines that. But what I
Mhm.
want to leave it with people.
Sure.
I'm trying
Leave
to
it. Right.
find
Right.
anything to use that, because that was accidentally brilliant.
Oh,
Um,
thank you. I'm
is
good at that.
is here. This is what, and actually you'll be able to fully play this. So my Lord and Savior is Carl Sagan, or I just refer to him as Papa Sagan.
Okay.
And something that he says, and he said in one of his last interviews that he did before he passed, and It was basically that, let me get something that's more of just a short quote. But when we lose the capacity or the ability to interrogate those in authority, we're up for grabs by any charlatan that may come into play. So at the moment that you're not able to question somebody, that which authority does not mean expert. Authority just simply means power. That's it.
Yep.
It doesn't mean that they know that what they're talking about is that they're in the position to be doing the talking. When you are not able to question them is when that should be taken as the red flag to do more and to keep pushing. And when you see the effects of that happen is when you should really that's when it should really kind of wake people up and, dare I say, produce the effect of woke, which woke is completely a term that was taken and manipulated for a particular effect. When you
We're
look into
taking
the
it back.
history of what that, yeah. So
We're
my
taking it
favorite
back.
person who actually is doing that is Cat Williams. So if anybody wants to put a pin in Cat Williams, that was my favorite person who started doing that recently. I think it's kind of weird for me to say Papa Cat, especially because there's a significant difference of background and melanin that you'll see between he and I with some of the things he also covers. But regardless, it notice when certain people ask questions to Trump, and if they're unable to simply ask a question, that becomes a red flag when he
Absolutely.
dodges it entirely. So the ability to question authority itself, when that happens, is a red flag. The ability to interrogate it when that becomes impossible is when
Okay.
authoritarianism takes root. So I'm pouring buckets of sweat.
You did fantastic. Thank you very much for coming on. That was a troubled maker, everyone. Is there anywhere that anybody that people can find you, or would you rather just this be your platform of sorts?
I mean, you can look for NYRA, which is youthrights.org.
Hmm.
But do know that I'm on here speaking as myself and my own opinions in this
Okay.
matter. I'm not representing NYRA in any way here. Well, it's youthrights.org. So
Youthrights.org. Okay.
yeah.
Got it.
And there's a few blog articles that I've published, but I need to be working a little bit more on that. But because of battling hypercortisolism, that's kind of put a dent in things. But I'd love to come back on a little more recently than from last time, so that I can give in some more kind of targeted subject matter. And also, hopefully, I will have had some of my other meds picked up so that I make a little bit more sense.
Absolutely. We'll keep in touch. Just let me
You
know if you
better.
got any. I will do my best. I'm not always the best at responding, but I try
No, you're
my
not.
best. So I know I'm not. Trust me, you're not the only one. Well, I want to thank you very much for your time today. I'm sure everybody learned a thing or two. And yeah, it's always valuable having you on. So thank you again.
Right. Take it easy, everybody.
All right. You have a great night. Always lovely hearing from our friend, a troubled maker. Hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please be sure to hit the like button, subscribe if you want to see more, hit the notification bell to be notified when I upload. If you enjoy my content, you enjoy what I do, I really appreciate any financial help that I can get. Go to youtube.com/AlecGunterTTV/join. You got some awesome benefits, such as seeing early videos, awesome emotes that you can use in the comments of YouTube videos, and a sweet badge next to your name. So if that sounds interesting to you, I'd really appreciate if you join. It is cheaper than the cost of a blowjob from your mom. So with all that being said, thank you again for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.